Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios deep in the heart of stately Maine Manor, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Today, we look at SummerSlam 2005 from the WWE. In the summer of 2005, I had just gotten my first job in the industry I still work in today. I had to transport a student to the hospital one night. She had come up and said that she had been bitten by red ants and had all these bites and didn't know where they were from. And so she was freaking out and wanted to go to the emergency room. And she was from Russia, and her English was not that great, so she brought along her friend to help translate. The friend was also from Russia. And the trouble started from there. So we get there and we check in while we're waiting for the one student to get shown to the back. The other student started to complain about headaches and how she has to take medicine because her headaches are so bad. And so I said, well, where's your medicine? And she said she didn't bring it with her. Okay. And so I go with the other student to the back and get her settled and checked in. I said, I'm going to go check on your friend. And I go out and the friend is nowhere to be found. I'm looking everywhere for her. Did you all see somebody? Because she smoked and she said she was going outside to have a cigarette. And I asked some people outside. They say, yeah, we saw her, but we thought she got picked up. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've lost a student. That's it. I've lost a student. I'm going to get fired. I wonder if I can get my job in security back, my old job in security back. And so I'm calling around to see if anybody had heard from her. And it turns out one of my RAs, she had called him to come pick her up and had told him that she had told me that she was leaving, which she had not. So thankfully, everything turned out okay there. But I'll always remember this time of my life and around this show with that incident right after I had started this new job. At the time it was my dream job. And it seemed like, oh my goodness, it's going to end before it begins, really. So SummerSlam 2005 was broadcast on pay-per-view on August the 21st, 2005 from the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. There were 18,176 people in attendance, and the show had 640,000 pay-per-view buys. The colors of the United States are presented, and Lillian Garcia sings the national anthem as we begin. She does an outstanding job. A USA chant goes out. Introduction with highlights of some of what has led up to some of the matches tonight. We then go to our intro. Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, and Jonathan Coachman welcome us to SummerSlam before introducing the Spanish announce team. They then introduce Taz and Michael Cole from SmackDown. We then go to our first match. United States Championship match. Orlando Jordan versus Chris Benoit. They tie up in the corner and Jordan hits a cheap shot to Benoit. Benoit hits a German suplex into a crossface. Jordan taps, and Benoit's the new U.S. champion. Vicky Guerrero comes up to Eddie as he is putting his boots on and says they need to talk. He says he is done talking. Vicky says this isn't about Dominic. It's about Eddie beating Rey Mysterio and being better than him. Vicky says it's all about Eddie trying to be better. She says she loves Eddie and begs him not to go through with this. He says he's going to prove to everyone that he can beat Rey Mysterio. Some injured soldiers from Walter Reed are shown. Highlights of what has led up to the match between Matt Hardy and Edge. Edge with Lita versus Matt Hardy. JR says it's going to be a slobber knocker, so if you're drinking at home, you can take a shot. Hardy gets really good reaction coming out. He and Edge start fighting on the outside. Hardy is possessed. He gets Edge inside the ring and applies the rear naked choke. Edge gets to the ropes. Hardy beats him down in the corner. Edge responds with a headbutt. A "She's a crack whore" chant goes out, directed towards Lita. Edge spears Hardy through the ropes, and they both land on the outside. Back in the ring, Hardy hitting Edge with big right hands, beating Edge in the corner. Edge lifts him up in the corner, and Hardy's face hits the corner ring post. A Hardy chant goes out. Edge hitting some big shots to Hardy's face. He kicks and punches Hardy's head. Hardy busted open. He struggles to his feet for several minutes. Referee Chad Patton stops the match because Hardy can't defend himself. Hardy looks genuinely out of it. Highlights of what has led up to the Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio match. Ladder match for custody of Dominic Mysterio. I can't believe this is actually a thing. Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. Guerrero comes down first and goes to Dominic, who is sitting at ringside with the social worker. Dominic won't let Eddie touch him. Mysterio comes out determined. He comes over and talks to Dominic. They stare at each other across the ring for a long time. An "Eddie sucks" chant goes out. Guerrero hits a knee to the gut and some forearms. He runs Mysterio into the corner. A back suplex to Mysterio. Back and forth. Mysterio hits a big monkey flip and Guerrero rolls out. Mysterio comes out and Guerrero runs him into the ring steps. He then runs Mysterio into a ladder. Guerrero getting up the ladder as Mysterio struggles to get in. Mysterio springboards from the ropes and knocks Guerrero off. Guerrero tries to bring another ladder in, and he and Mysterio play tug of war with it. Guerrero in and hitting forearms to Mysterio again. Mysterio throws Guerrero out. They fight over a ladder until Mysterio baseball slides and kicks the ladder into Guerrero. A "holy shit" chant rings out. Mysterio with a standing senton on Guerrero, holding the ladder on the outside. Mysterio trying to get up the ladder. Guerrero gets to the other side. They race to the top. They exchange right hands at the top of the ladder. Guerrero grabs the briefcase to unlatch it. Mysterio with some right hands to Guerrero's gut. Guerrero ramming Mysterio's head into the ladder. Guerrero sunset flips Mysterio off the ladder. He loses his grip halfway through, but they still both fall. Guerrero grabs the ladder and runs it into Mysterio. He goes outside and grabs another ladder. Guerrero then drop kicks the ladder onto Mysterio. He then slams Mysterio onto the ladder. He sandwiches Mysterio between two ladders. He then does a helo onto the ladders, Mysterio in a corner, and Guerrero comes over and slams the ladders onto Mysterio. He sets up the other ladder and begins to climb. Mysterio places the other ladder on the first and quickly climbs. He punches Guerrero and backdrops Guerrero off the ladder, and they all fall down, ladders and all. Mysterio sets up the ladder and starts climbing, but Guerrero drop kicks the ladder, and Mysterio falls again. Guerrero sets the ladder up across the ropes in one corner. Mysterio with some kicks to Guerrero, then charges him, and Guerrero launches him back, ribs first into the ladder. Guerrero sets the ladder up and starts to climb. Dominic comes in and starts to shake the ladder. He isn't strong enough to move it. Guerrero turns around and looks at Dominic. He yells at Dominic for shaking the ladder. He screams that Dominic is going to love him and that he's going to learn the hard way what it is to be a Guerrero. Mysterio attacks Guerrero and they get Dominic out of the ring, and Mysterio backdrops Guerrero. Mysterio sets the ladder up against the ropes. Guerrero goes to run Mysterio into the ropes. Mysterio blocks it. He runs Guerrero into the ladder and then hits the 619 on Guerrero against the ladder. Mysterio then springboards onto Guerrero, who has the ladder on top of him. Mysterio setting the ladder up. He climbs up and Guerrero is behind him and goes for an electric chair, but Mysterio reverses it into a powerbomb off the top of the ladder. They are both motionless on the mat. Mysterio up first. He goes back up the ladder. Mysterio grabs the briefcase. Guerrero kicks the ladder away and Mysterio is holding on to the briefcase. He lets go and Guerrero catches him and delivers a power bomb to Mysterio. An Eddie chant goes out. Guerrero sets up the ladder. He traps Mysterio underneath. He taunts Mysterio for a few minutes, but struggles to unhook the briefcase. Mysterio tries to get out. Mysterio gets the ladder off him, and Guerrero is hanging from the briefcase. Mysterio pulls him down. Guerrero hits the three amigos on Mysterio, ending with a suplex onto the ladder. Guerrero sets the ladder up again and climbs. His ankle appears to be hurt. Vicky Guerrero comes to the ring. She yells at Eddie and pushes him off the ladder. Vicky then pulls Eddie away. Mysterio gets the briefcase. Eddie yelling at Vicky. Dominic comes in and hugs Mysterio. Angie Mysterio comes down to celebrate with them. Eddie throwing things around. Mysterio hits him with the briefcase. Ty Grisham interviews Chris Jericho. He says that the time is now for Chris Jericho to become WWE champion. He says he's a legendary figure and he's going to take over. Eugene with Christy Hemme versus Kurt Angle. Angle attacks Eugene right away. He hits some big forearms. He hits a short clothesline. Eugene counters with a spine buster. He goes for a people's elbow emulating The Rock, but gets cut off by a vicious clothesline by Angle. He punches and chokes Eugene until stopped by the referee. A Let's Go Angle chant starts. Angle with a belly-to-back suplex. Eugene coming back with kicks and punches. Eugene misses a corner charge, and Angle hits another Angle suplex. That gets a 2 count. Angle bashing Eugene on the corner post, but Eugene fighting it. Eugene comes back with punches and hits a rock bottom. That gets a close 2 count. Eugene goes for a stunner, but Angle blocks it. He twists Eugene around. Eugene hits a kick and gets the stunner. Another 2 count. Eugene puts the ankle lock on Angle. Angle counters and runs Eugene into the second turnbuckle. Angle hits the Angle slam. He puts the ankle lock on, and Eugene taps quickly. Angle grabs a chair, and Hemme comes in to protect Eugene. Angle kicks them both out of the ring and opens the chair. He stands on it and recreates his 1996 Olympic medal ceremony. The WWE Divas are shown washing a limo in their bikinis. It has the presidential seal on it. The back window comes down, and it's Vince McMahon. He says, "Hey, why not?" as Hail to the Chief plays. There's a McMahon for President bumper sticker on the back. The Undertaker versus Randy Orton. Undertaker has the big fire and brimstone entrance. Of course, this is the Orton entrance before he had voices in his head. Orton bails out right away. He's trying to dictate the pace. Back in, Undertaker pushes Orton down and then slaps him. Orton with a side headlock. Undertaker pushes off and hits Orton with a shoulder block for a 2 count. Orton with an Irish whip. Undertaker with another shoulder block. Orton with a hip toss. Undertaker with a big boot. Gets a 2 count. Taker gets a key lock on. He works on Orton's shoulder. Taker goes for old school, but Orton drags him off the turnbuckle. That gets a 2 count. Orton with some forearm shots and punches in the corner. Undertaker comes back with big shots of his own. Orton goes for a charge, but Undertaker gets the big boot for a 2 count. Undertaker with a shot to Orton's back. Orton counters an Irish whip. Misses a clothesline, and Undertaker hits a flying choke slam. That gets a 2 count. Undertaker with big shots in the corner and a big boot. He hits a big knee in the corner to Orton. Undertaker with some shots. Orton ducks another corner charge, and Undertaker gets caught on the top rope, and Orton hits a knee to Undertaker's hamstring. Undertaker hits an elbow. Orton with a DDT on Undertaker as he's getting back in the ring. 2 counts, but Undertaker gets his foot on the ropes. Orton targeting Undertaker's leg, driving it into the ring apron. He bangs it against the ring post. Undertaker trying to stand up. Orton laying kicks to the hamstring. Orton with a leg lock. Undertaker grabs Orton's upper half for a submission hold. Undertaker with shots to Orton's kidneys, and Orton responds with an elbow to Undertaker's face. Orton drops a knee on Undertaker for a 2 count. Undertaker gets an uppercut, and Orton responds with a boot to the face for a 2 count. Undertaker with some shots. Orton reverses an Irish whip into a power slam for a close 2 count. Orton with a leg lock on Undertaker. Undertaker fighting it and reverses it. Undertaker slams Orton's knee onto the mat. Orton shot off into the ropes. He comes back with a shot to Undertaker's bad knee. He drapes it on the bottom rope and comes down on it. Undertaker counters and pushes Orton to the outside. Undertaker follows and drives Orton into the steps. He drapes Orton in the ring with his head over the apron and hits a leg drop on the apron. Undertaker going for old school again. He hits it, but his knee buckles as he hits the mat. He drives Orton face first into the mat. That gets a 2 count. He hits Orton with a corner whip, then snake eyes, and goes for the flying choke slam again. But Orton counters with a drop kick. Orton goes for the RKO, but Undertaker pushes him off. Undertaker goes for the tombstone. Orton reverses it. Undertaker reverses that, and then Orton reverses that into a neck breaker backbreaker combo. That gets a 2.5 count. Orton raining down blows to Undertaker's neck and chest. Orton goes up top, but Undertaker catches him and choke slams him. Orton down, but a fan is in the ring all of a sudden. Officials come into the ring to get him out. After he is gone, Undertaker picks up Orton's limp body, who comes to life and RKO's Undertaker. He gets the pin. Orton goes out and hugs the fan and removes the wig and prosthesis to reveal it is Randy's dad, Bob Orton Jr. Undertaker staring daggers at them. Undertaker limps off after them. Ken Melman, the chairman of the RNC, is shown. Then Ed Gillespie, the former chairman of the RNC, is then shown. Highlights of what led to the John Cena-Chris Jericho WWE Championship match. Eric Bischoff is shown wishing Chris Jericho good luck in the upcoming match. WWE Championship match. John Cena versus Chris Jericho. Cena gets a great pop coming out. They're face to face to begin. Jericho with a headlock. Cena pushes off. Jericho comes back with a shoulder block. Cena back up with some big shots. They start chopping each other. Jericho hits a clothesline and a suplex. He misses another clothesline, but hits the spinning heel kick. Jericho goes up to springboard onto Cena, but Cena ducks and Jericho lands outside. Cena tackles Jericho on the outside and punches him. Back in, Cena corner whips Jericho and follows it up with a charge and a back elbow. He runs Jericho into the turnbuckle and hits some shots. Cena tries for another corner charge, but Jericho hits a drop kick. Jericho punching and choking Cena. He hits some chops and kicks to Cena. Jericho hits a suplex. That gets a 2 count. Back and forth. Jericho reverses a Cena Irish whip and Cena thrown outside. Jericho drop kicks Cena from the apron. Jericho choking Cena with a mic cord. Back in, Jericho puts Cena on the top rope and superplexes him off. Both down, and Jericho rolls over for 2 different 2 counts. Jericho with some big shots. Cena gets his foot up on a Jericho corner charge. Cena with a backdrop and a clothesline. He misses a shoulder block when Jericho ducks. Jericho with a bulldog. Jericho misses a lion salt and Cena goes for the attitude adjustment. But Jericho hits a victory roll and goes for the walls of Jericho, but Cena pushes him all to the outside. Jericho trying to get back in, and Cena leg drops him from the top rope. He gets a 2 count, but Jericho has his foot on the ropes. Cena goes for the FU, but Jericho counters it into a DDT. He gets a 2 count. He does a backbreaker on Cena. Competing Let's Go chants. Jericho stomping on Cena's back while his throat is draped on the ropes. Jericho goes for a charge, but Cena hits a clothesline. Cena with some big hands to Jericho and another clothesline. He hits a hip toss. He does You Can't See Me. Jericho gets the walls of Jericho. Cena fighting it. Cena fights and gets to the ropes. Jericho with some boots to the head. They go up top and hit some shots on each other. Cena goes for the FU from the second rope, and Jericho turns it into a suplex for a close 2 count. Jericho goes for a tilt-a-whirl that Cena turns into an FU for the 3 count. Flashback to what led to the World Heavyweight Championship match. World Heavyweight Championship match. No holds barred. Batista versus JBL. JBL arrives in his Longhorn limo. JBL $100 bills fall from the ceiling. Batista gets a great reaction coming out. They start brawling in the aisle and by the equipment boxes. Batista throws JBL into some equipment and hits him with a fire extinguisher. JBL reverses another attempt and drives Batista into the equipment. He then runs Batista into a barricade. JBL grabs a chair to hit Batista, but Batista spears JBL through the barricade. It goes in the ring. JBL hits a clothesline. Vicious shots to Batista. JBL beating Batista down in the corner. JBL gets a belt and whips Batista's back with it, screaming, "Come on, animal," to Batista. JBL chokes Batista with the belt, and Batista is going down. Batista hits a side suplex to get out of the belt. He starts whipping JBL with the belt, Batista running his shoulder into JBL in the corner. JBL gets his boot up on a Batista corner charge and hits the clothesline from hell. That gets a close 2 count. JBL gets the ringside steps and puts them in the ring. He brings Batista onto the steps, but Batista backdrops JBL off. JBL goes for another clothesline, but Batista catches him in a spine buster. He then hits a Batista bomb. He hesitates to cover him. He looks at the steps still in the ring, picks JBL up, and Batista bombs him on the steps to get the pin. He picks up and rips a JBL bill afterwards. Flashback to what led up to the main event. Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. Legend versus Icon. Michaels comes out and gets a better ovation than I thought he would. A Hogan chant goes out before he comes out. He gets a crazy reaction when he comes out. A giant American flag unrolls behind him. Hogan poses before the match. He wants Michaels, who rolls out of the ring. A Hogan chant goes out. Michaels stalling a lot. The bell finally rings. They stare at each other. Lock up, and Hogan pushes Michaels off. It happens 2 more times. Michaels looking visibly frustrated. Michaels with a side headlock on. Hogan reverses it. Michaels pushes off. Hogan hits a shoulder block that knocks Michaels out of the ring. Hogan wants Michaels back in, but he's taking his time. They lock back up, and Michaels with a knee to the stomach and a blow to the back. He chops Hogan in the corner. Hogan reverses a corner whip, and Michaels draped over the corner ropes. He gets kicked by Hogan, and this is when the overselling by Michaels really begins. He comes down on the ropes and crotches himself. Hogan with some right hands. He rams Michaels' head into the turnbuckle, and Michaels goes flying off. Hogan with another shot, and Michaels responds with a finger to the eye. He chops Hogan. Hogan responds with a backdrop and a clothesline to the outside. Back in, Hogan with an Irish whip and a clothesline. Hogan with a right hand and an Irish whip, but drops his head too early, and Michaels hits him with a kick to the head. Michaels with a chop to Hogan in the corner. Hogan blocks being run into the corner, so Michaels slaps him. Michaels ducks a punch and slaps Hogan again. Hogan reverses a corner whip. Michaels up and over to the apron and slaps Hogan again. Hogan hits him with a right hand, and Michaels falls to the floor. It goes outside, and Hogan runs Michaels into the barricade. Michaels slammed onto the Spanish announce table. Hogan punching Michaels. Michaels run into the ring post. He goes to do it again, but Michaels pushes Hogan into the ring post. Michaels then does it again. Back in, Michaels hitting some corner punches to Hogan, who pushes him off. Michaels keeps going after Hogan, who keeps pushing him away. Referee Mike Chioda pulls Michaels off of Hogan, and Hogan is busted open. Michaels goes back to the punches and Hogan's face is a bloody mess. Michaels knocks Hogan down again and then applies the sleeper. Hogan bleeding all over Michaels. Hogan fighting going down. A Hogan chant going out. The arm doesn't drop and Hogan hits a back suplex to break the hold. A double count going on. Hogan with an Irish whip to Michaels, who comes back with a flying forearm to Hogan. Michaels kips up. Michaels goes up top, but misses an elbow drop, and Hogan coming back. He does the U point. He hits some right hands. Irish whips Michaels, who comes back with the flying forearm again, and the referee is accidentally taken out as well. A "We Want Brett" chant goes out. Michaels kips up again. He gets Hogan in the sharpshooter. New referee Chad Patton comes in. Hogan fighting it. Michaels pulls Hogan to the center of the ring. Hogan pulling towards the ropes. Hogan gets to the ropes. Michaels goes for the sharpshooter again, and Hogan kicks off, knocking Michaels into Chad Patton, knocking him out. Hogan pulls himself up. Michaels hits a low blow. Michaels goes outside and gets the chair. He's waiting to hit Hogan with it as he gets up. He hits Hogan, and Hogan down again. Michaels goes back up and hits the flying elbow. He tries to revive Chad Patton and sets up sweet chin music. He hits it, but Hogan powers out at the 2 count. Hogan hulking up. Another U-point and right hands. Big boot, and Michaels oversells it to the max. Leg drop and pin. Hogan wins. The crowd loves it. Hogan must pose. Michaels back up. He faces Hogan. He says, "I needed to know, and I found out." He extends a hand to Hogan. Hogan shakes his hand. Hogan applauds Michaels. Hogan must pose. The announcers put over Hogan as he poses and sign off from Washington, D.C. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from stately Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.